Trump's attempt to create a nearly $1.8 billion slush fund to pay January 6 insurrectionists is so deeply unpopular, there are now calls to impeach him over it. Plus, GOP members are speaking out against it. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. Now, this nearly $1.8 billion slush fund is a disaster, both legally and politically. And it might be what actually takes down Trump, because he does not seem to be backing away from it. Perhaps he has a plan. Perhaps he feels as if he needs these January 6 insurrectionists to be rewarded ahead of the midterms, certainly perhaps ahead of the 2028 election. This is what Trump had to say to justify the creation of this fund and paying out those insurrectionists. Take a listen.
So we think that those people, we think that anybody involved in that process should partake. And you're talking about peanuts compared to the value. It destroyed the lives of many, many people. Thank you very much.
Their inconvenience. That's what Trump says. Let's just remind everybody about what happened on January 6th and these people that have been inconvenienced. I mean, we all saw, of course, in real time, them beat police officers, but also they went through the justice system. They received due process, their constitutional rights, and many of them were convicted. About 1,000 of them were convicted, and many of them received significant jail time, up to 22 years. We've already heard Enrique Tarry, Proud Boys leader, say he plans on getting paid from that January 6th slush fund. We've also seen Mike Lindahl says that he also wants to get paid based on his 2020 lies. Now, both of them received their constitutional protections. Jim Acosta actually is saying he plans on getting money from that slush fund because he actually got his press pass revoked and he had to incur legal fees and got it restored. So much so that his initial win, he didn't have to even finish going through the legal process because the White House reversed course and gave him the press pass. Exactly the reason, actually, for anti-weaponization. Not the Enrique Tarros and all the others who went through a long and deliberative process before they received any convictions or sentencing. And of course, Trump has already pardoned them. Well, Democrat Ed Markey is calling for the impeachment of Trump over this slush fund, over the audacity to pay people who, if it were not for them, the members of Congress would have been the ones who were beaten and perhaps killed. If it were not for those officers, perhaps they would no longer deny the reality, and I'm talking about the Republicans in particular, deny the reality of that day. Even Republicans seem to realize this is a step too far. But Markey speaking out, saying that this is something Trump should be impeached over. Specifically, he put out a statement saying Trump's weaponization fund and ban on future IRS audits is his latest impeachable offense, using the machinery of government and billions in taxpayer dollars to reward allies, pay off insurrectionists, and shield himself, his family, and associates from accountability. This is exactly the kind of corruption and abuse of public trust the framers feared most. Impeach now. And in case you thought it was just the Democrats, this is the Republican Senator Tom Tillis speaking about what a bad idea and how Trump should not be funding this January 6th fund. Take a listen.
I think it's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. The American people are going to reject this out of hand. When you take money from me to give to a purpose that I vehemently disagree with, that's tyranny, and that's what that accounted.
Let's talk about this settlement fund. Of course, how it came about was the lawsuit, the Trump lawsuit against the IRS over the leaking of his tax returns. He was not the only one who had his tax returns leaked by the IRS. A similar person received a public apology as a result of it. Now, the DOJ decided to create this settlement fund fact, that's what their letterhead says, that it is a settlement fund for this nearly $1.8 billion. And of course, an agreement not to audit Trump and his associates. I'll get into that in a second. But the reason why they tried to create this as a settlement fund was because they wanted it to go under a judgment fund. They said the settlement would be paid under the DOJ judgment fund. What this means is that Congress has authorized a judgment fund because, of course, the federal government gets sued civilly all the time and has to have the ability to make settlements, just like a corporation who gets sued and has to pay out settlements, whether or not they actually receive a judgment in court or if they've decided to settle a case before it reaches court. This is something that is a typical situation that any corporation or any government would want leeway over the ability to settle a case. So Todd Blanche thought he was being all cute and decided that this fund was going to be created under the judgment fund, because then that would mean you wouldn't need congressional approval because they've already approved the ability of the federal government to enter into settlements. The problem, however, is because they did not enter this into the actual litigation as a settlement. Let's just take a step back. What happened here is Trump filed this $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS in January. Then he asked for an extension from the judge to give the IRS more time to file its counter complaint, to basically say why it shouldn't be settled. Then Trump filed a voluntary dismissal with prejudice, but did not enter into a settlement. In the interim, the judge said, I don't even know if I can take this case. This doesn't seem like a real case or controversy under Article 3 because you are essentially suing yourself. And she used Trump's own quote to the press where he said, I am essentially suing myself. This is why they rushed into what they are calling a settlement, because they had a May 20th deadline where the IRS was supposed to say essentially why this case should not move forward. And Todd Blanche was not going to do that. We know there was this memo that explained why they should not take the case, why the IRS should not take the case. They had a whole host of reasons. In addition to it not being a case in controversy, they had the fact that statute of limitations had run out. Never mind the fact that there wasn't even any negligence. So Todd Blanche either committed malpractice by agreeing to settle a case for $1.8 billion without filing one motion, not one motion in defense of his client, the American people. In addition, after receiving legal advice from the IRS for how to defend the case. That is one scenario. Or this isn't a settlement whatsoever, and it needs to be approved by Congress because instead it's a congressional authorization of funds. Congress has the power of the purse. And Trump and Todd Blanche want to be so cute and basically do neither but pretend it is the other. They're not filing as a formal settlement because they know the judge wouldn't accept it, but they're calling it a legal settlement because they don't want Congress to approve it. This podcast is sponsored by Veracity, an all-natural way to slim down, get energized, and sharpen your focus. Veracity is revolutionizing health by tackling the root cause of so many issues, metabolism. With Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions, you can support your body's needs to live your healthiest life. If your goal is weight loss, you need to try Metabolism Ignite, the #1 doctor-recommended GLP-1 booster and GLP-1 alternative. Metabolism Ignite has sold out 10 times for a reason. No side effects, no allergens. Metabolism Ignite is a natural, safe, plant-based aid that results in a 85% reduction in hunger and is clinically proven to lose on average 9 pounds in 90 days. Veracity founder and CEO Ali Egan is a certified hormonal health coach. Her personal experience with metabolic issues inspired her to develop holistic solutions for achieving optimal health. So what's in Veracity? It's a unique blend of lemon verbena and hibiscus extracts, green coffee bean extract, and magnesium. Plus, even if you are on GLP medications, Veracity is safe to take along with GLP-1 medications to aid in boosting your metabolism and appetite control. So before Metabolism Ignite sells out again, make the switch to GLP-1s the natural way. Head to veracityhealth.co and use code MISTRIAL. for up to 65% off your order. Once again, that's VERACITY health.co for up to 65% off. And make sure you use my promo code mistrial so they know I sent you. They think that somehow the American people are stupid and that our congressional members and all of our lawyers are not going to see through it. This is why it is ripping the GOP apart. This is evidently like why Congress has completely closed down, because there is no legal framework, no legal justification. It is very politically unpopular because we all saw on TV live streamed what these January insurrectionists did on the Capitol. And it was bad enough that Trump pardoned them. But now he wants to pay them. This seems to me a desperate move by a desperate president who knows his power is waning. He knows he's going to be a lame duck. He knows he's going to lose the midterms. He's trying to shore up his own personal army and make them more loyal, to create chaos and disruption. But in the meantime, the calls for his impeachment are rising and the GOP ranks are breaking. Congress having to flee DC rather than deal with this. Be sure to subscribe to the MeidasTouch Network if you haven't already. It's a fast-moving story. We'll cover it here as always. And be sure to listen to the Mistrial podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our sponsors in the description below. So grateful for the Mistrial sponsors because they don't censor what I have to say, which is so critical in this moment.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.